Oh, yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to the off-season, baby. It ain't nothing like it, but we gonna give you your Detroit Lions entertainment. That's right, the morning after. Hey, give me some thumbs up emojis in the comment section. Yo, as the Detroit Lions head to their offseason, this man you see on the screen right here, I can't wait to hear him. In about 2 weeks or so, he'll get in front of the media with another excuse. See, last night I went through a lot of emotions. I was sad. I was mad. Low-key, I was glad because this man right here refuses to learn. But as they say, he gonna learn today. See, a lot of y'all are down right now, but it's the holidays, right? We got the new year coming in. We not gonna let this team get us down. But we still good. Single dropping in the offseason. Shout out to Usher Raymond for sharing the revenue with your boy. I don't see my thumbs up in the comment section. There you go, Rufus. I appreciate you, bro. I saw something last night after the game in the post-game show. Looks like Dan Campbell was feeling some type of way. Oh, yeah, we gonna bring that presser back in because I want to dissect it. Dan Campbell said, I don't know what's going on. Is it one player? Is it one position? What is it? But I'm going to tell you what I want to see in the offseason, too. I want to see Martha and Sheila pulling up in a buggy, man. And I want them to ask Brad Holmes this one question. You know what question is. I want Martha to pull up in the shades and be like, Brad, we ain't good, but we still good. Lions are not good. They're not bad. They're somewhere in between. I want y'all to make sure you enjoy your weekend, man. No need to get down. We already knew what this team was when Brad Holmes, when he decided to bring Marcus Davenport back. We already knew that the season was toast. Speaking of toast, I think we got Levi. We got to make a decision about him. Josh Pascal. We got to make a decision about him. A lot of stuff happening in the offseason. Oh, yeah. But you know what? We done been here before. We done been down before. We not going to let it ruin our 2026. It's both M. Morris trying to give you your Detroit Lions entertainment. But the one thing I want to see in the offseason is I want Martha and Sheila, Rod Wood, Chris Spielman. I want the whole Ford family to pull up and ask Brad, is we good? Oh, yeah. Syndicate After Dark dropping this summer, man. You already know how I go. Ladies and gentlemen, what up, though? What's going on, man? Welcome to Spike Kool-Aid, trying to give you your Detroit Lions entertainment. The best in the business, man. I'm the best in the business. It ain't no more pulling punches, bro. I'm the best in this space when it comes to Detroit Lions content. That's just facts. That's facts, man. Entertaining, funny, you know what I'm saying? Emotional, knowledgeable, dropping stats and facts and, raps, the whole nine, man. We in the building. And I'm feeling some type of way this morning. We got a lot to talk about, man. But I hope that you got everything you wanted yesterday. You know what I'm saying? And I hope you're ready. Can y'all believe that it's almost over? The season is almost over. And the year is almost over. And I was having some contemplation last night. And I was saying to myself, I said, Derek, why? Why? I asked myself the question, why do you do this? And I I reminisced about my wife and I and my son. We've been in this house for 6 seasons. We moved to where we are now in 2019. And I was like, yo, I actually started my podcast in the previous place we used to live. I had a different setup when we moved here in September of 2019. So actually, we moved right before the season began. It was like in between week 1 or 2 or something like that. And I was saying to myself, we've been through so many things. We've been through Matt Patricia, Kobe Bryant passing, Chadwick Boseman passing. When we moved here, Avengers Endgame had just dropped in the theater. It wasn't even like we weren't even into Marvel, the phase that, you know, the Kang Dynasty and all of, like, we weren't even in that phase. Marvel was still good. It was good when we moved here. And I said to myself, I said, Derek, man, like, how long are you going to continue to do this? I'm not even lying, man. I've had so many emotions over the last, like, 12 hours, man, of, do I keep my season tickets? Do I cancel them? Do I continue? Because I feel like we're regressing to the point of, like, borderline SOL, man. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it a buck. What I saw last night, and then Twitter doesn't make it any better, right? But we've got a lot to talk about. I'm seeing some people want to shout out to Morris. I've seen a lot of people, they placing a lot of blame on Dan Campbell. I mean, a whole lot. A lot of blame. The Jared Goff stuff is, to me, ridiculous, man. I just can't. I'm saying to myself, like I said, man, do I want to keep doing it? And it's not just the team, man. It's everything. It is I was like, Derek, do you feel like doing this again, man? Here we go again. We're not even in the new year. And our season is cooked. It's done. It is over. Like, there's no hope. The graphic says eliminated. And it took me a while to kind of sit on that. Like, the graphic says eliminated, man. And this is the first time that we're going to see that under Brad and Dan after, you know, the rough start. Not only did we lose 2 back-to-back games, we lost 3. Rams, Steelers, and now to a team that had 3 net passing yards, bro. Like, what the heck? If I am Detroit, like, if there has to be something. Zadarius Smith getting cut was the reason we didn't make the postseason. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm sorry, man. I got a little caught up in my. I need to blow this up, man. I can't see, bro. I can't see, dog. Okay, let me blow. There we go. There, I'm looking at this little teeny weeny monitor. This thing is about, it might be about, I think it's 15 inches. So the chat is even smaller. So let me shout everybody out in the chat. Shout out to Crown B. We got Malachi in the building. We got Marco. What up? We got Detroit Lions. What's going on? Jay Smooth, Danny VA. What's up? Gibbs the GOAT. What up? Boogie. We got, man, I really need my glasses today. That's crazy. That is crazy. And shout out to everybody else as well. Will with the super chat, man. I appreciate you. Says Merry Christmas, D. Hope you and your family are well. Lions need to retool O-line, get a new OC and a solid pass rush. Brad is definitely on the hot seat. You know what, Will? That's a great question. Let's get right into it. I like that. Thank you for that, man. Okay, so we are the Lions officially or unofficially in the offseason, and we are officially eliminated from playoff contention, which means that in 1 week our season will be over. January 4th will be the ending, and now for a fact, we will see Brad Holmes in about 2 weeks, and I can't wait. And Will dropped a super chat, and here's what he said. He said, Lions need to retool the O-line, get a new OC, and a solid pass rush. Brad is definitely on the hot seat, and that's what I wanted to focus on. Do you think Brad Holmes is on the hot seat? I'm going to say yes, but in a different manner than you may think. I've always thought for a long time that he would not be renewed. I don't think he's going to be fired. He's done too much for the city, for the team to be fired. But I do not think that right now he's going to be renewed. I don't think he's earned a second contract extension. Dan Campbell, everyone takes blame. Everyone takes blame. But when it comes to Brad Holmes, I am specifically talking about him because it's his offseason decisions that put us where we are. You can blame Dan Campbell for hiring Johnny Morton, Kelvin Shepard. He deserves that blame. The same way that Brad puts the personnel together, Dan assembles the staff. And the last time that this happened, we had to put Anthony Lynn, we demoted him. The worst part about this season, to me, is the fact that now Ben Johnson seems like he was more important than he really was. I don't think he was that important. I really don't. But when it comes to Brad Holmes, should Brad Holmes be on the hot seat? I think he should. But in the hot seat where right now he hasn't earned an extension. See, the crazy part is this season that we're in was Brad Holmes' original last year. Did you know that? He got 5 years. Dan Campbell got 6. They were not hired together. Dan was hired first. Brad was hired second. It was usually the general manager brings in his guy. These guys were paired together and just so happened to hit it off. We're going to talk about in another segment has Dan Campbell had enough of Brad Holmes? And I wanted to bring the video in of Brad Holmes screaming like an idiot in the elevator. I wanted to bring that in. I hated it when it happened. I hated it. Is Brad Holmes on the hot seat? Absolutely. Absolutely. I had some idiot in the comment section on Lion Syndicate say he told me to basically buck off because I was happy that the Detroit Lions lost. No, I wasn't. But like the idiots, most idiots in the comment section, they don't really, I understand we're all emotional. That sport does this. This sport does it to us. We get emotional. But one thing I try to do is I will come back and if I say something out of emotion, which I have said before, I've misspoke, I've had to apologize. I've never been happy. I put a clown suit on the line for the sake of my team. I've said that I would always prefer looking dumb, right? And having a Super Bowl than being right. And that's what it was. This team is in need of a retool, and now we're in trouble. And this is why Brad Holmes gets most of the blame. If I had to put a percentage on it, I'm going to say that I'm going to give Brad Holmes 85% of the blame. I'll put 15 on Dan Campbell for the going forward on fourth down. Sometimes you have to take the points and the hiring of the offensive and defensive coordinator. Sometimes you have to look outside the box. Robert Saleh was available. He was actually a guy that was interviewed for the head coaching job before Dan Campbell got it, or he passed up on it or something like that. We could have tried to do something. And as far as offensive coordinators are concerned, you knew that Ben Johnson was going to eventually leave. And if Tanner Ekstrand was your backup, you knew that you could lose both of those guys. So you had to have a third option. And that third option was a guy who had been around the way, been with this team before, fired from like his OC job, other places, and this is the best you could do. So that 15% goes on coach. But that's all I'm putting on him. A strong 85% goes to Brad Holmes. Because Brad Holmes, that's why Brad is catching all the flack for we're good. From cutting Zadarius Smith, who was under contract, mind you, to not re-upping and paying Carlton Davis what he was worth. And the difference between him and DJ Reader is not that big as far as financially. From re-signing Marcus Davenport to Levi and Josh Pascal, who is on the last year of his deal. Drafting him from the beginning. I made a AI image today of Brad Holmes. And I've been referring to him as Harvey Dent, Two-Face, living long enough to see himself become the villain. Brad Holmes is the villain of this team. If you go back and you look at the drafts, beginning with Hendon Hooker, who was not a bad pick. He was there. It was a decent pick. It didn't work out. But right after that, nothing stands out to you. Not a single pick. You can say Giovanni stands out or Christian Mahogany stands out. You can go ahead and say those things. And I'm glad they do, because we're going to need a retooling offensive line. So Brad Holmes, after locking up $1 billion to 9 people, he has to re-sign, figure out what to do with Jahmyr Gibbs. We're going to have a segment about that too. Has Jahmyr Gibbs lost his, should he be paid handsomely, or does he have something to prove? This team is in dire need of retooling, and they're in trouble, and it's his fault. That's it. It's his fault. From trading for Donovan Peoples-Jones for literally no reason. Brad Holmes is allergic to talent and pass rushers outside of the draft. He is. Now we saw what a bad O-line does. And you know what's amazing too, and we'll talk about this throughout the show, is the amount of heat that Jared Goff gets. When, for what Jared Goff went through yesterday in week 17, it's amazing he got up. Joe Burrow has been out every other year because of his O-line. And we want to just destroy Jared Goff. I can't. I'm not. But right now, I will let it all. My entire offseason target is Brad Holmes, because this is his fault. If you want to blame Jared Goff, that's his fault too. So, is Brad Holmes on the hot seat? He should be. He should be. His seat should be so warm that he can't put the cheeks on it. That's what it should be. And I don't care what you think or any of the NFL. It's funny that the NFL pundits had us missing the playoffs, and they were right. And I think that might have been the best thing for Brad Holmes' ego. It might have been the best thing for Brad Holmes' ego. This dude wore a hoodie that said positional value villain. And that was the moment that the villain of Harvey Holmes was created. So Brad Holmes, he is catching all the smoke this offseason. He's earned it. See, the NFC Championship game and the extension, all of that, it's so amazing how fast the NFL moves. The Lions were the first seed 1 year ago, and now we're not even making the playoffs. That's how fast the NFL moves. So for everybody that wants to, he's the best general manager we've ever had, how long is that going to last? He's worn, to me, that's over. He has worn that out. He earned a second extension or a first extension. That's over with now. You've got an offensive line you need to retool. You have 5 players under contract for the defensive line. Your secondary is straight annihilated. Shout out to Harper or Thomas. We need to sign him for a depth piece. That's all you do. That's all he does. So Brad Holmes, should he be on the hot seat? 100%. That is my hope, that he feels some pressure this offseason. If Martha and Sheila do not pressure him, or he doesn't change his ways, the Lions will not move under him. It will be time to call him. Somebody referred to him as the Jim Caldwell of general managers. It just happened. And they might be right. And I like Jim Caldwell. I think Jim Caldwell wasn't given a fair shot. I don't think Bob Quinn really cared for Jim. Jim, he had a target on his back from the moment he walked in. And he knew he didn't want him. He knew he wasn't going to keep him, and he could not wait until, you know what he said? He said 9-7 wasn't good enough, and we can't beat the good teams. It's so bad that the fan base, which I think is dumb, is cheering that we have a 4th place schedule. What is that going to accomplish? We saw what happened when we went against a 1st place schedule this year. What is that exactly going to accomplish? So we run through these teams and get to the playoffs and can't show up. So Brad Holmes is definitely on the hot seat. Let me know what you think in the comments below. All right. We got some super chats that I missed. I'm sorry about that. Shout out to M. Morris with the super chat. Says, offense sells tickets, defense win championships. No surprise how this team is built. No surprise, highest ticket prices. Brad handcuffed this team. You know what, man? And the funny part is people are now starting to realize that. Shout out to Trice with the super chat. Says, salute, homie. Thank you for being the only one to stay on Brad's head. Casuals blame Goff, but the problem is that line with our re-signings with our re-signings, can we address this in free agency? You know what, bro? So Brad Holmes could have kept, Frank, he had no control over that. But Kevin Zeitler, he could have done something about that. See, Brad, and what you'll see, and this is why Brad is in trouble. Brad is in trouble. And we're going to see a lot this offseason about if he's willing to move. I referred to him as Kaiser Soze in a show earlier this week, because that's what Brad is. I low key, I feel bad for him as a person, because he's about to be like demanding Lions fans. He's not going to be able to show his face after a while. He's really not. He's really not. He's not going to be able to show his face after a while. Derek Morton be fired? You know what, Pepper? I don't think he's going to be fired. I think that he's going to just be let go like Anthony Lynn. What up, Mike with the super chat says, along with people that actually play, they need an offensive coordinator and possibly a defensive coordinator. Yeah, Johnny Morton is hot trash for sure. Jay says, we still got to play the Bears, Vikings, and Packers. Yes, we do. We actually got that schedule. I'll bring it in. Both coordinators need to go. Okay. All right, let's do it. Lions fans have had enough. They're calling for people's jobs. The comment section is very clear as to what needs to happen, what change needs to occur this offseason. And one of the things that is coming up is the coordinator positions, how they need to be revamped. Johnny Morton, absolutely. But this segment is going to be about Calvin Shepard. So put in the comment section as we discuss Calvin Shepard. Do you think the Lions need to move on from Calvin Shepard? I am torn on this. I don't think he ever should have been the coordinator to begin with. I myself, when I was making videos about Robert Saleh, I was getting laughed at. We should have got him. I think that we could have found a better candidate, but Lions like to hire internally. After all, Ben Johnson was a holdover from the Matt Patricia era. A lot of people forget that. The reason that I'm torn is Calvin Shepard, I like him. I like his attitude. I like that he takes responsibility. I like that. But I also believe that if you can level up, you got to level up. But the reason I'm torn is because what my problem was with Aaron Glenn. And it's hard for me to want a guy to be fired who had this defense early on, top 5 in the NFL. At one point, not too long ago. As a matter of fact, it correlates to one of the last times that we were in the playoffs. The Detroit Lions were 5th in total defense, which is yards per game, and they were 10th in points per game. So they had, matter of fact, they were top 10 in the 6 categories that we bring in. So it's tough for me to want to blame Calvin Shepard like that. As a matter of fact, let me bring it in. This is when the Detroit Lions, this is heading into week 12, not too long ago. This was after the game against the Washington Commanders. The Lions were 5th in total total defense, and they were 10th in points per game. They were top 10 in all 6 of these categories that you see on your screen. So why is it difficult for me to want Calvin Shepard? Why am I torn? Well, I'm torn because if you find somebody better or more credentialed, you have to take them. Robert Saleh was out there. I don't know if we took our shot, but of course, he probably wanted to go back home. But you see these defensive coordinators when they become coaches. DeMeco Ryans, he was the defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers after Robert Saleh went to the Jets. He wound up getting a coaching job, currently has the number 1 defense in the NFL, right? And Robert Saleh went back to what he knew. However, for me, it is very difficult to blame Calvin Shepard when he is working with the mystery man. He lost his starting safeties. His starting cornerbacks at one point were on IR, and now one is up for the season. When you are working from behind, it's going to be hard. And it's very difficult for me to have given Aaron Glenn 4 seasons. 4 seasons. And I don't think we were ever top 15. I don't think we ever ended the season top 15. So the reason I'm torn is because if you find somebody better, you got to take that. More credentialed, more established, that probably would have been the better move. If that person becomes available this offseason, you can keep Kelvin Shepherd in-house. And these are the tough decisions that Dan Campbell was referring to. We're going to talk about him a little later. But the reason that I can't really it's been year one. You gave Aaron Glenn 4 seasons. You gave him 4 seasons. He had 4 seasons of drafts. Brad Holmes put Aaron, to me, he put Shepherd in this situation. It's just, he put him in this situation. Davenport, Levi. Shout out to Al-Quadin Muhammad, man. He has earned a contract extension. He's earned another contract. Brad Holmes will sign him. Great depth piece. Great depth piece. Not a number 2. I don't believe he's a number 2. That's just me. Set a career high. But you know what? We're just assuming he might want to come back. We're assuming he's going to resign here. He might get his bread somewhere else. Maybe somebody wants to pay him like a number 2, like a number 1 cornerback or pass rusher. So for me, I feel like if you find someone better, you've got to sign them. If we find somebody better. Don says, I don't know, Derek. Since we can't stay healthy, he might need an easy schedule to save ourselves for the postseason. And yes, we should keep Shep. And see, you know what, Don? I feel like if we find somebody better, then we got to take them. C-Pool with the super chat says, why are folks living under the delusional fourth place finish will make us winners? Fourth place finish won't help you when you can't win in your division. Not only that, bro, this team beat 2 teams that was over 500. Everybody else that that's all they beat. All their wins, their whopping 8 wins, 2 of them came from teams over 500. And those teams right now, one has been eliminated from playoff contention in the Dallas Cowboys, and they were 1 game over 500 when we beat them. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are currently outside of the playoffs. And they were 5-1 when we played them, and they fell off a cliff. So really doesn't matter. So for me, I am willing to give Kelvin Shepherd more time. However, I think that we have entered the tough decision territory where if somebody better is available, more credentialed, more established, more experienced, you got to take them. It's no knock to Kelvin. But at the same, and this is going to be great. You know what? I think that this was good for this team. I think going out so sad is good for this team. I really do. So for me, that's what I think. Shout out to Leo with the super chat. Says, Derek, I would like to formally apologize to you. You were right. We are not that guy. But who would you want as the coordinator? I like Tampa coach or Raheem from Atlanta. You know what, bro? First of all, thank you for the super chat, man. And the kind words as well. You know, it's not about being right. It's just about having an opinion and sticking to it, right? So I appreciate that, though. You know what? If I don't know. I don't know if one of those guys become available, and I would have to look back at Morris. I believe he was he the DC when the LA Rams won the Super Bowl? I know that's when he kind of became a hot coaching candidate. Todd Bowles, I don't know. I feel like he's going to stay in Tampa. They seem like they got a lot of patience, and he always has them kind of in the mix. And, you know, he lost some key pieces. Chris Godwin took forever to come back. Mike Evans went out, and they lost their running back for a while. So I don't know, man. But as far as Kelvin Shepherd is concerned, I'm willing to give him more time if there's nobody available. But I'll tell you this. The NFL stands for not for long, and this is a business. And Dan Campbell has to think about his future with the Detroit Lions. Dan Campbell also has only 2 years left. Dan Campbell is still 1 year away from his final year as far as his original contract. So I do expect, though, some changes to be made. Dan Campbell spoke about it yesterday. Him and Brad, tough decisions looming. So for me, if somebody better is out there with how they don't have a lot of time left, I go get them. If nobody else is out there, then maybe I stick with Shepherd. But to blame Shepherd, I can't really do that when your general manager continues to put you in these situations. by signing guys who can't even be on the field. So that's just me. Let me know your thoughts. Yes, Dern, absolutely. Absolutely. I am saying that the Lions should decide to part ways with JG. Yeah, I agree about the loser mentality. Shout out to Braylon. And make sure y'all see the hotline. Let me bring in the thoughts from, and you can also leave voicemails as well if that's your thing. And if not, it is not a big deal. Okay, let me see what we got here. All right, we got a few. Let me see. Messages. All right, so shout out to, let's begin to where we are today. Malachi says, time for another rebuild. That's all I got to say. Hey, we are awfully close, my friend. There's no doubt about that. We got Fresh and Fly in the building. Says, yo, Derek, I just want to say Brad Holmes has become, that's who it was. It was Fresh and Fly who said that Brad Holmes has become the Jim Caldwell of general managers. And we like Jim Caldwell. He was only good enough to make the postseason, but not good enough to help us get over the hump. Dan also needs to take the points now that he doesn't have an effective OC. Ooh-wee. What up, Danny? Oh, man. Denny says, at least we still have this wallpaper to remember the brief and exciting time. He's referring to the division champions. Yeah, back-to-back. Maybe the big lie was during the 2023 season when we are ahead of schedule during a rebuild. Yeah. I hated that. I hated that, Danny. Hated it, bro. That we were ahead of schedule. I hated that with everything. NFL Scout says, if we made the playoffs, the problem of this team would have been overlooked. Not making the playoffs is the tough love this team needed to look in the mirror and make the necessary changes to get better. Hopefully we can bring Roy Lopez back on a cheap deal. Yeah, I think that DJ Reader can walk. Yeah, I think that that's exactly going to be the case. We got to get this. But Roy Lopez is a depth piece. It's time for this team to get starters and talented starters, right? So I don't know if Tyleek is going to replace Reader. And I mean, right now, our oh my God, right now, our defensive line is Tyleek and Aiden. Al-Qadim's not under contract for next year, but I think he'll be back. DJ Reader's not under contract for next year. So it's Tyleek, Aleem, and Aiden. That's our defensive line. That is I think Lacey is under contract, and it's one more guy that's under contract. It's either 4 or 5 people right now that's under contract. Derek, I got the solution. Trade Goff for Tua, trade Montgomery for Trey. The offense would be Tua, Gibbs, Williams. Hey, Steve, you got to be trolling, bro. Yes, Makai Wingo. Thank you, Dolo. Somebody else that doesn't exist. Steve, I think you got to be trolling, right? Hey, Grid, yesterday was definitely a horrible way to end the 2025 season. The last fumble, that last fumble snap, Goff clearly threw his body rolled into the ball, making it dead on the spot. Totally gut-wrenching. Yeah. Yeah. We need Tesla to play more since he had a great catch for a TD. Yeah, Tesla is the real deal. He's the real deal. And you know what? I'm glad the Lions didn't make the playoffs either. I'm glad they didn't make the playoffs. The season sucks. It sucks. Are you glad that the Detroit Lions have not made the playoffs? I'm not glad that they didn't make the playoffs, but I am. I look at it. I'm not a glass half full guy. I never, ever look at the glass half full. Ever. I'm always a glass half empty guy. Always been that way. To me, it's pointless. It's about mentality. If you are a glass half full, then you want to see the positive, and that's cool. I'm not that guy. I'd rather look at the glass and say, hey, you know what? That glass looks more empty to me. That's what I'm noticing. I don't have as much to drink. That's the way I look at the glass. How do you look at the Detroit Lions missing the playoffs? Do you think it was good? Yes, it was. It was. Because Brad Holmes said last offseason, as he was entering year 5, that what they were doing was working and they weren't going to change it. That's what he said. Well, now what they were doing is not working. So for me, I look at the grand scheme of things. Now Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, okay? The more you think about this, the greater it becomes. Because now you're going to see what the Detroit Lions organization is really about. Are they just about selling tickets, which they've been known to be? Do they care about football? There was one point where the fans wanted Martha to sell the team. Now, like people want to crown Brad Holmes the greatest general manager we've ever had, I would say that Sheila Hemp is the best owner that we've had. Because in the short time that she's been boss, she has fired Matt Patricia, hired Dan Campbell, hired Brad Holmes, 2 NFC North titles for the first time, 1 NFC North championship game, first playoff win at Ford Field, first playoff game at Ford Field. All of that has come in Sheila's watch. However, missing the playoffs, regressing in the manner in which we did is enough for me in year 5, going to year 6. Ladies and gentlemen, in about 1 month, it will be year 6 of this regime. We will be inside. We are unofficially inside of year 6. Year 6. Year 6. And we went backwards. Doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Look at the 49ers. They missed the playoffs last year. They're 2 wins away from the first seed. They can hold off the Rams and Seahawks if they beat the Bears and win their last game. They missed the playoffs. They were worse than us last year. They didn't even have 8 wins, I don't believe, last year. When we went to go play them a year ago this week, we were playing for the first seed. They were playing for nothing, for pride. Missing the playoffs might have been the best thing to happen to this team, to wake up Sheila, maybe put some pressure on Brad and Dan, to wake up Brad and Dan. Brad, you got to get what you were doing is no longer working. See, teams around the Detroit Lions got better and the Detroit Lions stayed the same. Why do you think there's a draft every year? There's a draft every year because people come, people go. You are trying to, why do you think they have the worst team pick first? For a balance. So while you are staying the same, at best, teams around you are getting better. Because those teams are acquiring talent. For everything that people had to say about Jalen Carter, he has a Super Bowl ring. Think about that. Jahmyr Gibbs and Jalen Carter were drafted at the same time. At the same time, bro. A few picks apart from each other, and one has a Super Bowl, one does not. What does that tell you? Lupe with the super chat says, like Dan has said, it's only failure if we don't learn from it. So if we don't address the needs, if we don't address the needs, then we have truly failed. And that's 100%. But he only has so much control, and we'll talk about him soon. Dan Campbell has so much control, but that press conference I saw last night, everything about it spoke to me that Dan Campbell is feeling some type of way, and we're going to talk about that. So for me, I think that missing the playoffs was the best thing to happen to the Detroit Lions, because we're now going to see what Brad Holmes is about, and it's going to start with the initial press conference. I could only imagine that even if the questions from the reporters are not, ripping through them, that they're going to hold more weight than they've held. And that every answer from Brad Holmes, in hindsight, the more arrogant he sounds, the more irritated the fan base is going to become. That's what I think. I think that because before, when it was working, like we said earlier in different shows, winning covers everything. This team had Flex Seal on it. And they painted over the Flex Seal. They didn't repair it. They knew that Frank Ragnow was probably going to retire soon. So you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of, and I'm about to take you back a little bit. It reminds me of, in 2020, what wound up being Matt Patricia's last year. Justin Herbert was sitting right there. Justin Herbert, man. Even Tua went before Herbert. Justin Herbert was sitting right there. Matthew Stafford was under contract for a few more years, but you had to know, the Lions organization had to know that Matthew was getting tired. Had to know that, man. You had to know that we're probably going to need a new regime. And they didn't take Justin Herbert. They took Jeff Okudah. From my understanding, what has been going around is that was a pick to save their jobs, which is it's no wonder they got fired. Jeff Okudah wasn't saving nobody's job. But Justin Herbert is sitting right there, and you passed on him for a cover corner who is on his fourth team in just as many years. Missing the playoffs was good for this team, but how good is yet to be determined. If Brad Holmes comes out with the same gibberish that he's had for the past 4 years, nothing's going to change. He will eventually be let go. He will not be renewed. That is 100%. He has to adapt or he will die. His job will die. The question, and here's what I think. I don't think that Dan is connected to Brad. C. Pool with the super chat says, knowing Ragnow discussed retirement in February 24, Brad took break straw over BB. And there you go. We drafted Ennis Rakestraw 2 months after that. And that man has played 8 games for the Detroit Lions. He spent the entire 2025 NFL season on injured reserve without taking a snap. All of this has come back to haunt this regime. And we'll see. With the super chat, Propa says, your team reminds me of the Niners last year, to be honest. Yeah, I just spoke about that. Shout out to G-Man with the super chat says, do you have plans to make vids on draft prospects? We'll talk about that a little later. So let me know what you think. Do you think that missing the playoffs was what this team needed to be able to turn the corner next year? Okay. I can't believe I'm about to. I mean, I don't I don't really do that until February-ish. Like me, the draft to me is just, oh my God. It's kind of like Trey Hendrickson videos, but yes, I will we'll get that stuff coming. It'll be coming. I don't even, that made me throw up a little bit in my mouth, but thank you, man, for the super chat. Don with the super chat says, Brad Holmes had plenty of time to speak or hold a press conference, especially after going silent at the trade deadline. I don't want to hear him now. Well, you know what, Don? You know what, bro? I can sympathize with you, but now is his time. That's why he's on the thumbnail. He's on the thumbnail because in about 2 weeks, he'll be all we hear. We don't hear Goff during the offseason. All we hear is Brad every Tuesday. And he's got a lot to answer for. I'm kind of glad that we get 6 months with him because he needs to be absolutely decimated this year. He needs to be decimated. We are nowhere near the 49ers. They went to 2 Super Bowls. Splasher, what I meant was, and what I was referring to is how the Niners had a down year last year. What up, 7 points? What's going on, man? 50% Sheila, Forrest fought, 50% Brad Holmes. Okay, so why is Sheila to blame? Why is Sheila to blame? Since you want to blame Sheila and you said it's 50%, put it in the comment section. Let me pull up this. Man, it was hard. It was hard to go live today. It was hard, bro. I'm going to tell you what, man. Y'all kind of kept me going because there have been times that I thought about just taking a break and just taking some weeks off, man. Some weeks off. All right, so I got these headphones on because we're going to dissect this, and I'm going to make this into a segment, and it's probably going to be on the longer side. Sheila just writes paycheck, says everybody, says Don. Yeah, I wouldn't want Tua as well. All right. What did Steve say? I don't know. All right, so why are we blaming Sheila? She writing paychecks to the wrong GM. Okay, so when do we start putting more weight on Sheila? Do you think it's already begun? Tua is much better than Goff for the Lions. You guys are just emotionally attached. Steve, I don't know, bro. I see what you could be talking about because you've got A-Chain, you've got when he had Tyreek Hill. Don't forget, Tua is who helped get Aubrey Pleasant fired. So I can see what you're probably referring to, but I'm going to disagree. I'd much rather keep Goff. Holmes needs to draft talent. Okay, so Sheila's turn. Sheila turned this turd around. It's Dan's fault calling the plays against the worst team, a.k.a. the Commanders, and then kept calling plays and never stopped and killed our season. Right now, she needs to. Can't have the highest ticket prices and sit on your hands. Okay, so what? Let's give a solution. Let's give a solution. Sheila Ford, what do you want her to do? You can also call the number that's on the screen and leave a voicemail. I can, if I can bring it into the show if it's too much to text. But what is Sheila supposed to do right now? That's what I want to know. What would make you happy if she did what? That's what I want to know. Shout out to Fernando with the super chat. Says Goff and Dan are not perfect, but far from the problem. I agree. It would be very tough to find a perfect quarterback in the NFL. And I know I know what you were saying, but this is for everybody else because this is just totally insane. Okay, so Splasher says fire Brad. So we've reached that. Trucking says no, Sheila is more than just paychecks. She wrote the paycheck to Brad Holmes and watched Brad Holmes let this team regress and fail miserably. She's just responsible as Brad Holmes. Okay, Trucker, I will say this. I hear what you're saying, but this is the first time that we've regressed. So that's not really a true statement. Now it is if we, if this offseason passes but I wonder if Brad Holmes pulled the Bob Quinn because Bob Quinn okey-doked Martha into firing Jim Caldwell. I don't think Jim Caldwell I think that Jim Caldwell could have won a Super Bowl here. I do. We gave this man 4 years. And he in 4 years, he went to 2 playoff appearances. He never won, right? That's 50%, but you never won one, but neither did Stafford. So all of a sudden, Stafford goes to the Rams and immediately wins his first playoff game with the Rams, right? So I don't know. I look at Jim Caldwell a little bit differently. I look at Jim Caldwell like the team kind of failed him, like they failed Calvin Johnson, and like they failed his play calling and stuff like that. Dan Campbell, not perfect, right? But he had 4 years. This team is in year 5. This regime is in year 5. So these two men, and yes, they got playoff wins, division titles. They've earned that, but they've earned their first playoff or extension. Have they earned another one? I remember Dan saying before the season started that there was going to be some rough patches this year and wanted people to understand that. Hey, Josh, I don't think you'll hear that this year. Skipper has to go. He just a toy out there. Yeah, Skipper is I think that we're going to see a different Dan Campbell this year. I think the Dan that we all know and love, I think he's going to change just a little bit. Y'all. That's my thought. $70 million cap hit for Goff next year, and Brad chose to sit on his hands. Well, Brad chose to sign. Brad is the reason he has that cap hit. Let's be clear about that. Skipper plays. Okay, change for the better or worse. Aaron, I think it's going to be for the better, man. I think it's going to be for the better because his press conference last night showed me that he might be getting a little tired. Let me see. Jay says, is the pocket passer really a thing of the past? I look, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. I still think it's a huge staple of the NFL. I really do, man. I don't mind having a pocket passer. Okay. So you know what? Let's have this conversation. So Goff has been getting a lot of heat. He always does. He reminds me of Stafford a lot. I don't remember. I know Stafford got a lot of heat, but the Lions were not as talked about like they are now. But it's been a rough 12 hours for Jared Goff. Every time we lose, it's his fault, and it seems like he has a ton of turnovers. But here's the question that I have for you. So Jared Goff's fumbles were either going to be sacks or fumbles, like it was going to be one or the other. But why is it that we act like he's the only quarterback that needs an offensive line? Matthew Stafford at 37 is probably one of the stiffest quarterbacks in the NFL. Phillip Rivers, Matthew Stafford, others. Why is Jared Goff the only quarterback that needs an offensive line? Your offensive line is literally there to protect the quarterback. You have the opposite team that is literally rushing the passer. That's what they call it. Rushing the passer. We have a quarterback that does not run by design. Although yesterday I saw some design runs, which was super weird. And he did well. Escaped a sack, got out of it, whatever the situation. The offensive linemen, their job is literally to stop defensive linemen from rushing the quarterback. But we act like that Jared Goff is the only one that needs an offensive line. Oh, if you don't get him an offensive line, he can't do anything. If you don't have no offensive line, he can't. Can he extend plays? Would you like him to extend plays more? That would be cool if he had that ability to do it more often, like a Joe Burrow or like a Josh Allen. But I'm going to tell you why. Is the pocket passer dead? I don't think it is, and I don't think it should be, because this is why I would prefer a pocket passer. Look at Lamar Jackson. First of all, every single time you have a design run and the quarterback becomes a runner, all of the protection that the NFL has put to protect the quarterback is out the door. They become just like everybody else. That leaves injury. Y'all want this razzle-dazzle. Oh, I escaped the pocket. Oh, he broke his ankles. You want all of that stuff when his job is to find a receiver. And Jared Goff is very, very good at that. He's very good at running the offense. He's very good. Remember when he stumbled last year? He had a center step on his foot, and he still got the playoff. Jared Goff does his job. We need the rest of the team to do theirs. We need an offensive line to create holes for the run and protect the man that runs the offense. We need receivers to be exactly where they're supposed to be, exactly when they're supposed to be there. Just like every other quarterback in the National Football League. I don't understand this. If Joe Flacco and Matthew Stafford and Phillip Rivers can make passes and win games, Jared Goff can do it. We've seen him do this. I don't understand why it's like this with him. I think you just don't like his face. That's what I think. It's that simple to me. You don't like his face. I think because you didn't draft him. Because for some of you despicable people who call yourself fans, you want to cheer for Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Rams, which in no universe is that acceptable. Like, period. You rather follow this guy who willingly left your team, who has a team built around him, has a general manager that literally said, forget those picks, and you want to pull all support for the man who he does his job. I watched the play yesterday. We had Dan Skipper on his blind side, which to me was a mistake. We had Penei Sewell, who I love Penei. He was hurt. He also was pretty peeved off about playing on Christmas. I'm not saying that he sabotaged the game. I'm saying maybe he was mentally checked out. Because I saw Andrew Van Ginkel run straight around Penei Sewell, smack dead into Goff, rip the ball out of his hand, fumble. That's what we're doing. So I would find it very difficult for a quarterback whose name is not Lamar Jackson, who makes some spectacular plays. Josh Allen, who is big, probably could play a wide receiver or a tight end, to get out of the situation that Goff was in yesterday. Like, real talk. And then once Goff does become a runner, then what? Then he's a runner. And then he's fair game for everybody. Josh Allen dealing with an injury. Lamar Jackson dealing with several. Right? You go down the list of quarterbacks that decide that they're going to escape the pocket, and what happened? Kyler Murray, all of them. This man had the highest completion percentage for most of the season. He doesn't now. He's 15th now. It's in the under 60. It's actually 20% lower than it was. That all starts with the offensive line that every quarterback needs, by the way. Put a quarterback out there with no offensive line, say, green 80, and watch what happens. All of them go down. Every last one of them. I don't understand this. I just don't, man. But I'm at the point now that I'm like, yo, who cares? Who cares? Get rid of them. Go ahead. Trade them away. Trade them away. Trade Jared Goff, bro. Trade Jared Goff. If you can find somebody to take him, take him. Hendon Hooker is available, but he on somebody practice squad. Go get him. Bring him back. Y'all want a mobile quarterback? Bring him back. That's where I'm at. Let me see where we at. Look at the injuries. Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert all got hurt. Kyler Murray, Jordan Love. Hey. Jaden Daniels hurt running the football. Most of the time, these quarterbacks are hurt running the football. Now, Jordan Love, he got concussed. He was standing in the pocket. Running quarterbacks run the football. They get hurt running the football 8 out of 10 times. They become running backs. They get hurt. Jared Goff has not been, he missed what, 1 or 2 snaps this season? Not going to do it. So, let me know in the comments below. Are you ready? Where are you at with Jared Goff? I just find it ironic that for years we blame Matthew Stafford, and there's about 10 teams that would take Jared Goff right now. There's about 10 NFL teams. Here are a list of teams that I think would take Jared Goff for next year at least. I think that we're going to go and look. Teams that would take him right now, the Miami Dolphins. Teams that would take him right now, the New York Jets. Teams that would take him right now, I would say the New York Giants, but I guess Jackson Dart is the future. Teams that would take him right now, I would say the Cleveland Browns. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers. Matter of fact, I would love to see Jared Goff in black and gold. Pittsburgh Steelers will take him right now. Atlanta Falcons will probably take him right now. Carolina Panthers, probably. Indianapolis Colts, absolutely. New Orleans Saints, without a doubt. Tennessee Titans, the future is still up for grabs. Arizona Cardinals, absolutely. Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes going to be out. He'll take him. Las Vegas Raiders will take him right now. That's at least 5 teams that would take Jared Goff. And he would be an upgrade for their team. I just don't understand why we have seen what this man can do. And it just amazes me how, Matthew Stafford with the sidearm passes and all this stuff. To me, history is repeating itself. It really is. And I don't know if the difference between, you know what I would like to know? I would like to know how many teams wanted Matthew Stafford. See, what we understand is that the Detroit Lions, they gave Matthew Stafford a choice. And there are a few teams that I know the Carolina Panthers wanted Matthew Stafford. They were willing to give us, I think, more for him, but he didn't want to go there. There's rumors that the Indianapolis Colts wanted Matthew Stafford. I would love to know how many teams actually wanted Matthew Stafford, right? Because here's what I see. I see that the Rams, very similar to forget them picks, they figured that he was the one. He was the quarterback that they wanted. And right after he announced that he wanted to be traded, because don't forget that the Rams had just extended Jared Goff. And right after they heard that Matthew Stafford wanted out, they figured he was their guy. And he was. He still is. He'll be remembered for a Ram more than he will a Lion. But I wonder how many teams wanted a 33-year-old quarterback that had every record known to man for the Lions but had never won a playoff game. I would love to know that. Put it in the comment section. How many teams do you think actually wanted Matthew Stafford back in 2021? But those 5 teams that I mentioned would take Jared Goff and would be upgrade. He would be an upgrade. And when Jared Goff is no longer on this team, if he's still a quarterback, I'll watch his games if I can. I'm not going to cheer for the Detroit whatevers, but I'll watch his game. But let me know. What do you think the Detroit Lions should do with Jared Goff? They're not getting, he's not moved. Nobody's going to take Jared Goff. You are stuck with Jared Goff. As a matter of fact, Jared Goff is here longer than Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell as of right now. His contract is beyond theirs. It runs through 2028. Jared Goff is on year 1 of new money, and that's Brad Holmes' fault. So let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, let me catch up with these super chats, y'all. Appreciate y'all. We have a super chat from Braylon. Says, I remember a Lamar Jackson interview saying he wants to stay in the pocket. You can't really do that when your offensive line can't block a soul. I'm tired of this perfect O-line narrative. You know what, Braylon? I remember that as well. He actually said that. He said that, and he said he wanted to be a pocket passer. Like, he wanted to be. You know, Lamar is not a big person. I ain't listening. I ain't blaming Goff. Listen to me. Let me see where we at. We had another super chat as well from King. Shout out. Says, excessive injuries can seem to be the common denominator, except these past few seasons. Can it be the way can it be the way they train hard, beat themselves before the league? You know what, man? I don't know, but I remember the Lions fired their last strength and conditioning coach. His name was Harold Nash. They fired him a little while, like a couple years ago. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a new one, because they told me yesterday, yes, Jared Goff does have a no trade clause, but that clause can be waived. It can be waived by him. Let me see. Braylon says, even if we get a mobile QB with the super chat and he plays like crap or gets hurt, often y'all will be begging for Goff to come back. Read my earlier super chat, Derek. Yes. Yeah, Braylon, when I'm in segment mode, I don't read them unless they do it the segment. But I got on it then. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. So I liked him coming out of college. AQM need to walk. He more valuable to us as a comp pick. Hey, Terry, it depends on, y'all think he gonna get a deal? You know what? I wonder, does AQM have a market value? He might have played himself into a contract, a market value. Let me see. Because I'm certain he ain't have a market value before. Oh, shucky ducky. Hold on, y'all. How long we been on? All right, let me check the hotline. We've been on we are on overtime. All right, shout out to, we got a few more texts. Shout out to my man. Let me see. We got Aaron. Says, hey, Grid, yesterday was definitely a horrible way to end the 2025 season. Okay, you wind up, you put that in the chat as well. Man, Rufus in the building says, what's up, big dog? I'm hurting like most Lions fans right now. For me, it's not just about football. I have a sentimental connection with this team, and it pains me knowing that generations of fans will continue to die and never see their team at least go to a Super Bowl. I'm happy my father got a chance to see that in 2023 before he passed. Really, bro? Man, but for me, that's enough. I don't know how much I have left in my emotional tank to keep supporting this team. I appreciate you for renewing my belief in this team, but it's hard being a Lions fan. I appreciate you, big dog. Hey, Rufus, I appreciate you, man. And I'm sorry for the loss of your father. I think about that stuff too, bro. Like, man, I'm sorry, man. It's like that for me too, bro. That's all we want, y'all. That's it. Pepper says, should John Morton be fired? Yeah, I think he's not going to be renewed. Man, that's tough, bro. And that's the point, y'all. That's the point. Oh, Lori says, I want my father to see the Lions go to a Super Bowl before his time comes. He was 7 when the Lions won their championship. That's all we want, y'all. That's all we want. Man, what's up, A Green? What's up? All right. We got 2 more segments and then we'll wrap up the show. I appreciate y'all spending your Friday with me. I hope that if if you guys are still off for the holiday, that you're enjoying your Friday and that you don't let the Lions get you down too much. I instantly went into off-season mode yesterday. So after the loss, I was thinking, okay, well, now it's time to get back to some video games. It's time, the New Year's coming. It's time for the typical New Year's resolution thing with the weight loss and all that. That's coming back up, getting back to the gym, all those things, man. And how I'm not going to let this team, I already talk about them every day. I'm not going to let them consume my thoughts when they are not giving me back something. And right now, to me, this is more about Brad Holmes than anybody else. Hot Sauce says, what up, nephew? Says, my grandfather passed right before the Cowboys game in 2023. Man. Okay, let's do 2 more segments, man, and then we'll wrap up the show. Pistons play tonight, and that should be a good one. That should be a real good one, man. Shout out to the Pistons. It's a little tough when you watch. I noticed that the NBA is a lot softer than it was back when Chauncey and them were playing, and that's really the last time that I've been in it, been watching it. But I do also understand that it's certain teams that are like super soft. You know what I mean? Like the New York Knicks, when I watched them in the playoffs when they were playing the Pistons, I was just like disgusted. I said, this is what the NBA has become. I realize that every game is not like that, but it is a lot softer. It's become super soft over the past 20 years. I miss the days of Dennis Rodman, and I know that was way before that, man, but that's when basketball was basketball. That's when it was. All right. So you guys know I've been talking about the pass rush for literal years, and Brad Holmes continues to do what he does best, which is sign role player mystery man, and this might be the best player that he signed in that regard. Marcus Davenport, as a Detroit Lion, has less sacks than this man in his entire time with the team, and they've both been here for the exact matter of fact. This individual that we're talking about, you already know from the thumbnail, has been here less time than the Detroit Lions. And that is one Al-Qadim Muhammad, was picked up off, I want to say, the Indianapolis Colts practice squad in the middle of last year. And he managed to get a few sacks for the team. And for the first time in a long time, we have a linebacker / defensive end that is leading the team up there with Hutch. And for that reason, I think that this man has earned, I don't think he's a number 2. That's just me. Here, he's not a number 2. He might be a number 2 somewhere else, and that's what we're going to talk about. I do think that he's earned an extension or a re-signing with the Detroit Lions. I would hope that is not number 2, but I could see, the Lions went with Davenport as their number 2. I could easily see them going with Muhammad for number 2. But is he even going to stay a Detroit Lion? Somebody mentioned in the comment section that if he were to walk, we could probably get a comp pick. You can get a comp pick anywhere from the 3rd to 7th round. And the Philadelphia Eagles, if they don't decide to re-sign Jalen Phillips, they will probably get a compensatory pick for him. Then it got me to thinking, well, does Al-Qadim Muhammad have a market value? And according to Spot Track, it looks like he does. But before we take a look at that, let's take a look at what he's done. He's 30 years old, so he is about to turn 31. So him and Trey Hendrickson will be around at the same age. They're the same age. He will be a lot cheaper than Trey Hendrickson. Okay, so that's a good discussion, a good debate. Trey or Al-Qadim. 11 sacks on the season, which is tied for 9th in the NFL. He has blown past his career high at 6.5. If he gets a sack and a half, he will exactly have doubled it at 13. But this is a career high by 4.5 sacks, which is a big deal for him. 15 solo tackles, 11 of them have been sacks. If we look at his stats throughout his career, again, this is why he's on this team, because Dan Campbell had a connection to him. Was on the Indianapolis Colts for 4 years. Then went to the Chicago Bears. I think he was actually cut by the Dallas Cowboys in the 2024 season. He spent some time on the Indianapolis Colts practice squad before we went to go get him. And now he spent 2 years with the Detroit Lions. You can see that he had basically 1 sack every 3 games, or every third game he had a sack in 2024, and this year has played all the games and has 10 sacks. But if the Detroit Lions decide that they are going to re-sign him, what are they looking at? So it got me thinking, like I said before, what could his market value be? I've never seen this. So this is the first time I'm going to see it live with you guys. This is what Al-Qadim Muhammad's market value is. And I want you to tell me if you agree or disagree. Could you see him walking and getting a deal elsewhere? Okay, we're going to see this at the same time because he did not have a market value, but he played himself into the market, which is outstanding for him. And I'm going to be real. I wouldn't mind seeing the player leave and go get their bread somewhere else. All right, his market value is 2 years, $8.3 million a year. So a 2-year, $16 million deal. That would put him in the comparable players of Peyton Turner, Jake Martin, Derek Barnett, Arden Key. That's about right. So would you sign? I don't know if that's big enough to get a comp pick. It depends on when you replace him. Look at his current contract. His average salary is $1.4 million, which ranks 1,010th in the National Football League. He would jump up if he signed this deal. And remember, guys, this is a market value. So this is what Spot Track has his market value is. It could be less than this. It could be more than this. 2 years, $16 million. I will say, I do not think Al-Qadim Muhammad will be back. Brad Holmes is not going to pay that. He's not going to pay it. I think that's a little too expensive for him, if you ask me. Then again, he could surprise me. He could surprise me because he needs to change his ways, or he will be changing his job very soon. I want to see something because I think this is going to kind of give us a hint of what the Detroit Lions might do. Man, this is going to be a big year for the Lions. It's going to be a huge year for our team because there's going to be so many new precedents that have to be set if the Detroit Lions want to be competitive next year. It's going to be a new bar set. And to everybody that is talking about a 4th place schedule, you better hope that we win a Super Bowl with that 4th place schedule. Because if we do like we did in 2024 and we wind up where double-digit wins, which we're not going to get to this year, if we go to the NFC Championship game but don't make a Super Bowl, then all of a sudden you're going to have Brad and Dan's last year, and now we're going to be in the same place that we are now. See, the fourth place team and stuff, that's not something that you really want. All right, are they going to let me see this? All right, they're not going to let me see it. So in 2020, when the reason I don't think that Brad is going to sign is that that's going to be a little too rich for his blood. It's because Brad, when was the last defensive end that Brad paid $16 million to? Who was the last defensive end? Like, not Aiden, not named Aiden. You've got Romeo. I don't think he made $16 million. You've got Marcus Davenport. Marcus Davenport in totality has made about 10. He's less than 10. Who is the highest kind of, and Alexander Zaloni, he was here for 1 year, then he earned a 2-year deal. Has Al-Qadim Muhammad earned a 2-year deal to me? Absolutely. He 100% has. Is Brad going to pay him? And if he doesn't, will it be enough to get a comp pick back? I don't think so. I don't think he pays him. And I don't think, if it's that much, I don't think he pays him. And I don't think that we're going to get a comp pick. That's what I think. What was Pascal's contract and Levi? Okay, so Levi, Pascal is still under his rookie contract, so he kind of don't count. He was a second-round pick. He ain't really making any money. But if we look at the cap for the Detroit Lions, the contracts for the Detroit Lions, Levi had a really, 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 really cheap deal. It was a really cheap one. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Let me move this over here, and then we'll be able to bring it in. So here is, man, look at all these people. This is where the $1 billion is going. All right, so let's look. Where are we looking? He's probably somewhere down here. Here it is. He signed him to a 1-year, $4 million deal. This is what Levi had. In 2025, Levi will earn a base salary, wow, bro, of $4.2 million. And this guy didn't take a single snap in the offseason. This is pathetic. This is pathetic, bro. So you're talking about 4 times that for Al-Qadim Muhammad for 2 years. I don't see Brad doing it. I don't see him doing it. So Al-Qadim Muhammad, so how we get a comp pick is it is some type of calculation that only the NFL knows, how much you lose versus how much you gain. So if Al-Qadim Muhammad was to go and he signed a massive deal or whatever, there's no like starting point for the deal. The NFL doesn't disclose that information. And the Detroit Lions don't sign somebody of like equal or greater value. If it doesn't balance out, then the Detroit Lions will get a compensatory pick. It could be as high as a third. Thirds are very rare. We got a 3rd round pick for Kenny Golladay when he left. Ironically, the first year of Dan and Brad, and we wind up getting a comp pick for him. As a matter of fact, I believe it was the only compensatory pick in the 3rd round for that draft. It was the only one. And I wonder, what did we use that pick on? So I don't think we're going to get a comp pick for Al-Qadim. I don't think his contract is going to be that high, but I think $16 million is too high for Brad's blood. Let me know what you think down below. So what y'all think, man? Y'all think Brad does it or no? Levi hit the lottery? Levi, McNeil, and Barham scammed Brad? No, Brad scammed himself. No, don't sign DJ. That's the reason you drafted Tyleek. No, hey, after DJ Reed, man, I'm done. I'm done with him after the comments on the vulgar comments on Twitter, bro. I can only imagine what they're doing now. All right, y'all, let's do this last segment and get off. And again, I you guys are just as much therapy as I am for me as I am for you, hopefully. It was hard. It was hard for me today. I was like, yo, do I even want to do this, man? Because we not even, the season not even over yet. We got to go through we're literally going through the motions. That's all we're doing. We're going through the motions. And nothing can even begin to change until we see Brad Holmes. But at least we know we don't have to worry about getting in the playoffs and then getting our heart broken for those people who want a better pick, this does it. We have officially been eliminated from playoff contention. So this will be it. All right, let's do our last segment, man, and then I'll let you guys off to the for the weekend. Don't you guys see the 36 contracts expiring and we can't fix the whole? Yes. So we have look, listen. Like I said, if you want to talk about contracts, blame Brad. 100%. Okay. So, okay. Nick, I heard from him last night. Not sure if he's still part of the team. He is, but I don't know if he has time. Working on some new segment ideas and stuff for the offseason. That's where my mind is at. Just like the Lions need to get better, I'm trying to change up, bring new content. So I'm in off-season mode. I got some stuff that I want to do around the studio, kind of like a renovation, like a real, how you put money into the stadium and you make it a little more modern. There's a couple things that I want to do that I want to have by the start of the season. So I'm like, why not even start now? All right, let's do it. With the Detroit Lions being eliminated from playoff contention, there are things that have to change in 2026. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are entering the home stretch of their current contracts. And no matter what you say, as of the making of this video, December 26, 2025, both of these men have 2 years remaining on their deal. Brad Holmes decided to sign 9 players, whether you think they're worthy or not, is irrelevant because he signed them, to almost $1 billion. We have more to go. And I wanted to make a segment about Jahmyr Gibbs, and maybe we'll squeeze that in. We'll see how we're feeling. But this team needs an overhaul. That's what this team needs. Just 2 short years ago, we were in year 3 of a rebuild. You know where we're going now? Year 1 of a retool. After 2 good years. 2 good years. As a matter of fact, yeah, because really 1, right? Because you guys were saying that 2023 was year 3 of a rebuild, that the Lions were overachieving, that we were ahead of schedule. That's what you guys were saying, right? I was never saying that. There's no such thing in the NFL. You take control of the opportunity you have. We lose that NFC Championship game. Dan Campbell gets in front of the media and says, this was the last time that these guys, this might have been our only shot. And right now, he was right. And we know what he was talking about. He was talking about the specific group of men. The specific group of men that we lost. Josh Reynolds didn't take another snap for the Detroit Lions. Now I understand that you guys want to blame him, and you can go right ahead. Make sure you blame Jahmyr Gibbs as well for fumbling in the 20, inside the 20 of the San Francisco 49ers. Make sure you blame Ben Johnson for being goofy. Make sure you blame Dan Campbell for not taking the points. Make sure you blame Brad Holmes for not drafting or trading for a pass rusher, but instead taking Donovan Peoples-Jones. And you know what? Blame whoever else you want. But the Detroit Lions are in need of an overhaul in 2026. And I think that the buddy cop dynamic that is Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, I think it is starting to fracture a little bit. And I hope it is. I'm not going to lie. I hope it is. It's great to hear about the peace and harmony and singing nature, you know what I'm saying, of these 2 men who didn't know each other, came in. Dan was first. They just hit it off. Became best friends immediately, right? Maybe it's time for a change. Maybe Dan Campbell's ready to push back a little bit. We made a video last week about is Dan ready to push back? Should he push back? Most of you agreed that he should, but I want you to hear that I think it's coming sooner than later. Let's take a look at Brad. This is Dan Campbell's press conference from yesterday. We're going to talk about some things that he said. Pay close attention to what he has to say.
All right, the story of that game was 6 turnovers. Can't turn the ball over 6 times and win in this league. Defense did some really good things. Getting stop after stop. Offensively, I thought we played hard. We just could not. You turn the ball over that many times, it's going to hurt. So, that's what got us.
Yeah, you guys knew it was on the line as far as the playoffs. Is that especially disappointing, the performance?
I mean, losing is.
All right, so of course I didn't go to school for body language, right? But there are kind of staples of body language that especially if you're watching enough crime shows and crime documentaries about when people are starting to be interrogated, what they do. We've seen Brad Holmes take a defensive posture in the offseason. We literally saw he was asked about the pass rush for the third time, and he went back and crossed his arms. And that is a defense of getting away from your interrogator, because that's what he needs to be this year, is interrogated. Forget question. He needs to be interrogated. Brad Holmes is a suspect in destroying the Detroit Lions. He's a suspect. He's my top suspect, by the way. But I want you to keep an eye on Dan Campbell. Keep an eye on his delivery, his demeanor, everything about him. It's going to tell you everything you need to know.
It's very disappointing. Losing. I hate losing. They hate losing. We do. But look, I mean, some of these things that come up, the effort's there. It's just, boy, we are not, we're just a little off here, and it's costing us significantly, and we just, there again, too many turnovers. That's what really got it.
Now, you know what I noticed? I noticed that Dan was finding words, and then he went back to turnovers. But he's going to keep searching and keep finding and eventually find the words that he's trying to say. I think he knew what he wanted to say, but he kind of went back to the turnovers, because instead of throwing anybody under the bus or bringing anybody else into it, turnovers. It goes back to that. But I think I like this Dan. I like this Dan because I think that we might finally see some conflict in the draft room. We might see some conflict to how to build this team. Maybe they're not as connected as we thought. Or maybe the fracture begins now. And you know what? I'm okay with it, because they weren't even hired together. Usually a general manager brings in a coach. It was not that way. Dan Campbell was here first. His deal was longer, okay? Which tells me that the Detroit Lions bought into Dan Campbell. Man, I'm spitting bars right here. The Lions believed in Dan more than they believed in Brad. That's what that tells me. You had a 6-year deal versus a 5-year deal. Why would they do that? Because they were not hired as a team. They were hired as two individuals to work together. Yo, this offseason, it's going to be fire.
Yes, man. Just couldn't overcome it.
Coach, I know you already struggling with injury, but losing Taylor Decker in the 14, how much did that hurt you?
We've lost a lot of players and always been able to, All
right, listen to this very carefully. And me stopping this press conference is the whole point. All right, so I don't want to hear. The question is about losing players. Listen to Dan's response.
A lot of players and always been able to, next man up, bounce back, find ways to win. And, we felt good about Skip going in there and battling. And, and I haven't watched the tape. I know that here's what I know out of Skip. He's going to give us everything he's got. And he's going to battle and he's going to finish. And so, I trust Skip.
How do you explain the big picture, just how things sort of fell apart the last couple of weeks here? Just got weird. Not making the playoffs in the season.
Yeah, but we turned the ball over 6 times today. That's the first one. And then last week.
See, the 6 turnovers is easy. That's easy. Because the Detroit Lions have been living off the fact that their offense has always been ahead of the defense. The offense has carried this team for a long time. It has carried this team. It really has, man. And now, both times that we've lost in this fashion, it's usually when the offense turns the ball over as much as they did. It was 5 turnovers in the NFC Championship game, 6 in this game. That is how, so it keeps going back to that. But I think Dan Campbell is finally starting to break. I think he's starting to break, man, not in a bad way, but in an aggressive way. Like, listen, we need a little bit of friction in that room. And that behind the scenes, we need a little friction, man. Friction, awful, we need a little fire. This team needs to be refined. And what they were doing was working until now, and now it's not.
We just couldn't, we couldn't score in the red zone late when we needed it.
Once their pass rush was able to start getting home, how did that kind of change the dynamic of what Goff was doing?
Well, anytime he's not able to step into a throw, it's going to be hard for him. That's where he's at his best, obviously, in the pocket. And, if he's not able to at least hit that back foot and step into it, it makes it pretty difficult, And, that defense puts a lot on you, and it was a short week, and they really, they did a lot. They went all out, and, it's really that type of game where, you have to be able to run the ball. You need to pop a run. You can't turn the ball over, and then you just need 2 shots. It really is that type of game where, you come away doing that, and the stats may be ugly, but you come away with the 2 shot plays that made the difference, the 2 touchdowns, and we just couldn't, we couldn't get those. So.
Yeah, it was 6 turnovers today, but the truth is you guys haven't played that well for a few weeks now, as you know.
Oh, hey, did you hear the breathing though? He like, this brother, who is this?
Larger picture you need to look at. I know the season isn't over, but the playoffs are over. Is there something bigger picture you need to start looking at?
All right, this is the biggest takeaway of this entire press conference. And I think after this, we can stop it. We don't have to listen to any more after that. This is very telling. Everything from the lead up during the question of his body language, his demeanor, his irritation. I mean, the brother like audibly sighed into the microphone. Like you could see everything. Everything is coming to a head right now. But the response to, is there something basically that needs to be changed in this season? And here's what he had to say.
I'm going to be looking at a lot, I'm going to be looking at a lot of things because I do not like being home for the playoffs. And I know our guys don't either. So, and there again, whenever you lose, man, it takes a village, man. Everybody's involved, including myself, So I'm always going to look at myself first, I'm always going to wish I would have given Goff more, given those players more. Like on a day like today, you come out, you lose, win, doesn't matter, man. If, you feel like you need to improve or can't improve, you want to. So.
But on the first, fumble center quarterback exchange, that we just snapped that too early, and beyond that play, what went into the decision to start Kingsley?
Yeah, well, Graham was good enough to help us as a reserve. He's got that knee, and so we were fortunate to even have him as a reserve, and so gave Kingsley another go. It just got snapped early.
And you talked about finding your guy's identity. It clearly isn't going to be refound this season, I don't think. How difficult will that be to refine it now?
Well, we got 1 game to go, man, and I expect everybody to be ready to go when we get back in a couple of days, be locked in, and be ready when we get on the plane to go to Chicago, to be locked in one more time. That's what I expect. And then we'll go from there, Brad and I will have a lot of decisions to make, a lot of things to look at, the what's.
Why did he stutter? Why did he stutter with the Brad not like he had? I don't know, but yeah, this is what I wanted y'all to hear.
Brad and I will have a lot of decisions to make, a lot of things to look at, the what's, the whys, the how do we improve, because we need to improve.
There we go. The what's, the whys, the hows. How do we improve? Because we need to improve. I think this is the first time that you've really seen through. I don't think it was facade. I think the belief was there of, you know what, the grit and all of that. Because somebody pointed this out yesterday, and it was in my comment section on Lion Syndicate. Said, have you noticed that they don't seem to be wearing like the grit merchandise as much anymore? I think that grit, I said this, the grit era is over. It's over. But I'm telling you, Dan Campbell is saying a lot by saying a little.
Yeah.
Do you think it's small things? One day, such, a lot of those rosters, the same group that went 15-2 last year, or is it bigger things?
Well, you know, until I have time to really sit down and soak everything up, I don't know if I can quite answer that. I know this: it doesn't take much for things to get off balance. You know, it really.
Now, what he's about to say here to me sounds like, and I'm not trying to create something, but it sounds like a contradiction to what Brad was saying earlier in the offseason. Because to me, it just sounds like it might be a little bit of friction beginning to form.
Not as much as you would think, you know. So sometimes it can be one thing here. It could be one player. It could be one coach. It could be, you know.
All right, it could be one player. It could be one coach. Is that coach Johnny Morton? Is that player missing Brian Branch or Kirby Joseph? So Brad saying not being one player away. To me, if Dan Campbell is saying it could be one player, that means that one player is significant enough that you could be one player. The Lions could have been one player away. They're not now, but they were in 2023. They were in 2024, and now they're not. And that's why Brad Holmes is priority number one. He is the first person that needs to be held accountable. And what I want to see this offseason is for him to immediately take responsibility. Everybody on the Detroit Lions takes responsibility but him. Jared Goff puts it on himself first. St. Brown puts it on himself first. All the players do that. Dan Campbell puts it on himself first. Said he would. Brad Holmes does not do that. And if he doesn't join, he will be the first man out. I'm done. I am tired. I'm tired. It's been 5 years. 5 years. Right now, we in shenanigan territory.
You just never know. Or the placement of somebody. You know, maybe he needs to be playing here, or maybe he needs to be doing this, you know, every team's different every year, man. And even if you have the core, which you believe in, why we've got them, is that, man, it's always a new team. You got to find your own way, man. So it's disappointing, you know. It's disappointing. So, but it is what it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think that press conference said a whole lot. It said a whole lot. It might be time to change some things, shake things up a little bit. You got the core. Notice what the Lions, that press conference was completely different from what we've got our guys. We got our guys. Today was the first time that let me know if you've seen anything else where Dan Campbell didn't seem confident in those guys, where it was like, yo, we've got our core, but we might need a little something else. Something ain't working. So we're going to see. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But I think there's going to be some shakeups this offseason. All right, shout out to the comment section. Dan with the super chat says, I feel bad for Dan. He has to get in front of the camera and take all the heat. He does it without excuses, even for the things that aren't in his control. Don, that is 100% facts. And that's the first thing that I'm going to point out. That's the first thing that I'm going to enjoy dissecting. You can call me Hannibal Lecter, because I'm going to be dissecting Brad Holmes. I'm telling you, bro, the first thing that I want to hear out his mouth is, this was my fault. That's the first thing, bro. And I'm going to be painting the picture of who he really is. Of who he really is, man. And what he is he borderline in narcissist. All right, man, I almost ran out of this last super chat. It almost disappeared. Hold on, because I don't know who left it. Shout out to the 200 people we got in the building, man. We coming up this year. Shout out to Dalton Harris with the super chat, says, Goff is not the problem. Our top 5 running back is actually not all that. Rate him off his performance against good teams where he is non-existent. I actually wanted to talk about that too. And we might need another segment. Couple things to break. DeForest Buckner is done for the season. He needs neck surgery. The fan that DK Metcalf punched had an interview, and I think that's going to be quite interesting. So maybe take a look at that. That is on Twitter. He's lawyered up, and he got on the backwards Detroit Lions cap with a suit looking like Don Johnson if he was a Lions fan. Do you realize the confidence it takes to commit 5 turnovers in a game? All right, let's do one more segment, y'all, and then we'll wrap it up. I want y'all input. So what y'all think, man? What y'all think of this? What y'all think of what Dan Campbell said, bro? I think that it's going to be some changes this offseason. I think it's going to give you some changes, man. I think we're going to see, and I think if we don't see it, then that's going to tell you everything you need to know. I think if Brad Holmes comes out and he starts, and the beauty thing about this and why I think that this is the best thing to happen to the Detroit Lions is the fact that when Brad Holmes come out, and if he sounds like he did last offseason, the fan base is not going to want to hear it. That even, okay, diehard Detroit Lions fans, they're going to have a problem with it. They're going to have something to say. Dan Campbell is fed up with Brad. No, not true. If you actually draft a decent player, Goff off in big games, Mr. 5 interceptions. Okay, we were right. D, what about our D-line coach? Wasn't he a defensive coordinator? I need to look into that, bro. Don says, I'd be surprised if he wasn't. Brad probably writing down excuses right now to use in the end of the year's press conference. I can't wait to hear. And we are doing that live. We're doing a live reaction of that. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. So what's going to happen is if he's live, then I'll probably wait till he's done and then go live so we can have the full thing. But let's have one more segment. I want to know because I think this is interesting. But you know what, man? Football is brutal. Everything about it is brutal. Everything about it is brutal, bro. You can be loved one day. You can be hated the next. Okay, last segment, and then I'll let you be free for the weekend. So the Detroit Lions have a bunch of decisions to make this offseason, a ton of them. They have $1 billion locked up in 9 people. They also have people that they need to extend this offseason. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell are eligible for extensions. Brian Branch, Sam Laporta, same with them. What are the Detroit Lions going to do? They've got massive decisions to make. The roster turnover is insane. There's less than 40 people under contract. Half of our roster, as far as that 90 man. And when we start, we're going to need a replenishing. We talked about Al-Qadim Muhammad, his market value. Will he return? For his market value, I don't know if Brad's ready to pay that. I see Josh Pascal returning. I see Levi returning. Who I don't see returning is Marcus Davenport. His time with the Detroit Lions is over. If Brad wants to win games, it's over. That's what I see. But with that being the case, and the replenishing, the retooling, because that retool that Brad Holmes spoke about in year 1, we knew it was a rebuild. We should have known that something was up with him then. When he said he don't like to refer to it as a rebuild, it's a retool. Dog, you was in a rebuild. Stop the cap. Stop the cap. Now you're in a retool. You're in a retool. Rebuild is right there. It's right there, bro. Some bad decisions, some questionable decisions. Was Jared Goff, was signing him to the deal you gave him, was that a smart decision? I don't think Jared Goff is the problem, but you could argue maybe that contract was because of the amount and the money it tied up. Jared Goff is not going anywhere. So you need to deal with that. That's how it is. As a fan, you got to deal with it. Just like I got to deal, unfortunately, right now that Brad Holmes is my general manager right now. But you better believe we're gonna keep making videos like this one, right? So, with all the decisions that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have to make in the offseason, a lot of money to still go around, a lot of replenishing to do. Who knows? We might need to bring in some safeties and draft them because we don't know what's going on with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. We have no idea what's happening with Kirby except that he just got on IR after 2 months of missing games. And Brian Branch, we don't know if he's going to be ready to start the season. So, and those are people who were under contract and starters. Is Ennis Rakestraw going to be ready to go? Terrion Arnold, is he going to be ready to go? A lot of stuff happening this offseason. But there's a guy who is up for a contract extension. Jahmyr Gibbs, the draft pick, in my opinion, that started the villain arc of Brad Holmes. My Hero Academia just ended. Great show. And there was an arc in it where the main character, spoiler alert, by the way, It was called dark. It was a dark arc. Brad Holmes, he didn't die the hero. He lived long enough to see himself become the villain, and the villain he is. To me, I'm calling him Harvey Holmes. He is Harvey Holmes. Instead of Two-Face, we'll call him Blueface for Honolulu Blue. But this man is definitely the team's biggest villain. He's so full of himself that he now has to get out of his own way. And I think there's going to be a little bit of conflict between Dan and Brad. We did a segment about that. Jahmyr Gibbs. I had him not too long ago as the highest paid running back in the National Football League. That's what I think. And he still might be. Brad Holmes still might do that. But should he be? Somebody in the comment section said he don't show up in versus good teams. Well, you need an offensive line that can create holes. We saw what he could do last year, his rookie season before that. He fumbled yesterday. It was costly. He fumbled in the NFC Championship game. It was costly there as well. So he's not perfect. He's not perfect. I believe that he is that guy. He can still be that guy. But what is he worth right now is the question. Let's take a look at his stats for this season and what he's been able to do. Now, granted, again, the offensive line has not been that great from the jump. He had 19 yards versus Green Bay, 2.1 a carry. His highlights was that second week against Chicago, 3.0, 6.1, 5, 3, went off at Tampa. This was the highlight of his season, 14.6 yards a carry. And then after that, what did he do? He had 2 yards versus Pittsburgh. He had 41 yesterday. These numbers here, I was looking, y'all, and I'm going to say something that might be a little bit controversial. I was watching, and I don't know much about their O-line, but I was watching Bijan a couple weeks ago, and I was like, wow, Bijan is always going forward. Don't get me wrong. I like Jahmyr Gibbs, and I'm starting to believe, hey, is this the reason Bijan Robinson was the first running back off the board? Right? And if I recall, Lions could have had Bijan Robinson. I'm not saying it. If I recall, I think Bijan went, we were picking at 6. We traded back. We didn't take Bijan or Carter. We could have taken either one, right? I'm not saying that should have been the case, so don't come at me in the comment section. But it's Jahmyr Gibbs. And as I do the right, I don't know what is that. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm going to get it right, y'all. I'm going to get it right. But where we at? Where we at with this? 2 yards, 38. So in the last 3 games, Jahmyr Gibbs he has accumulated less than 100 yards. 100 yards. Yards, how many games has he had over 50 yards? Let's look at it. He's had, decent amount. I don't know. His last game over 50 yards was against the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving. He had 68. He had 219 against the Giants, who were a bad team. If we look at the good teams, what did he have? All right, Chicago wasn't a good team when we played them. Baltimore, they were okay. Cleveland, they were good against the run and had the best defense in the NFL. He had 54 behind a bad team, 65 against not a good team. Tampa Bay Buccaneers went off. So he's had 3 games this season over 100 yards. Now, I want to do something. I'm going to compare that to Bijan Robinson. I'm doing this on the fly because I am very curious to know what Bijan is looking like. Again, I don't know about the offensive line of the actual Falcons, but just yards in totality, it doesn't look that different. It's not that different. Just yards wise. Bijan has 250 carries. Jahmyr Gibbs has 224. Bijan has just under 100 yards less. He has 6 touchdowns. He averages 5.5 yards a carry. Jahmyr, 5.1. 5.1. What is Bijan? What is his game log looking like? How many times did he go over 100? I don't know. They're super comparable. I see more consistent games over 50. So you know what? Maybe it's just the O-line. Maybe it's O-line. Let's look at Jahmyr Gibbs from last season. Let's see the 2024 season when we had Frank Ragnow and we had those guys. So in 2024, what was he looking like? Kind of a lot like Bijan. It was looking a lot like Bijan, bro. This is what an offensive line does. You see this? What a difference, man. He had some stale games right here. 80, 90, almost 70, 65. So I'm going to attribute this to the O-line. I'm going to attribute it to the O-line. So let's look at this, though. What is his market value? So to answer my question, is he worth it? Let's see what his market value is right now. Right now, I'm going to put it on the O-line. That's what I'm going to put it on. All right, according to Spot Track, you ready? I've not seen this, so I don't know. $20 million a year. 3 years, $20 million a year. That would make him, he would get a 3-year, $62 million, which would make him, would he be the highest running back in the league? 4 years, he would make more than James Cook, more than Saquon Barkley. So, yes, he would make more than all of these guys. Jahmyr Gibbs would be the highest paid running back in the National Football League. 3 years, $62 million. That is the highest in totality. He would be making more than Christian McCaffrey was at his 38, which I said he was. So the question that I have for you is, do you think that Jahmyr Gibbs is still that guy? And do you think he's worth $62 million for 3 years, being the highest paid running back in the National Football League as far as a contract basis? I think that for me, he is still that guy. But just like every team, he needs an offensive line. He is definitely not the power back. I think he works well with David Montgomery, and it would be good to keep a power back. I do not want to see him with, 20-plus yards or 20-plus carries. I would like to keep it between 15 and split it with David Montgomery. Run the ball. If you're going to run the ball 30 times, I would give at least Monty half of those. And if Gibbs is hot, I would keep feeding him. And if Monty was hot, I would keep feeding him. So I don't know, but Lions got a lot of work to do this offseason, and it starts next week. Let me know what you think. All right, so what do y'all think in the comment section? Are you still, that from just the stat comparison, it looks like it's just an offensive line. That's what it looks like. I'd rather pay Gibbs than give Goff $70 million. Well, Salty, it's already been done, bro. It's already been done. So you might as well stay salty, my brother. You might as well, because it's already been done. And that's something that, again, falls on Brad Holmes. That falls on him. I'm not saying that I agree with that, right? Okay, hold on. Where's this guy? Hey. So, Shy Son. Okay, I need to know where my money's at, bro. So you don't get to comment. You don't get to comment in hold on, let's deal with Shy real quick, because I want to make sure, if you still here, Shy, I need my money, bro. I need my money. Let me go. I want to find his very first comment. See, you talking junk from the very beginning, bro. Any Chicago Bear fan that comes in here, if you don't start with hello, what's up, what up, doe, some type of greeting, you will be sent to the shadow realm, bro. And then after that, I want my money. I want my money, bro. All right, so let's give my man some time, and then we'll wrap up the show. He probably not even here, but he gonna run it back. Shout out to Isaac, bro. Look, he ain't even here. He left. All right, so he left. He left like the chump I knew he was. So let me talk to my Bears fans real quick. This is why y'all can't stand y'all, man. They just talk entirely too much. I get it. Why Isaac just everything was forget the Bears, and I understand now. Monty is gone for sure. Hey, Mallow says, why is everyone so negative? I'm not sure what you're talking about, bro. Maybe you just got here. But I'm going to get my man to the end of this. Hold on. All right, where's our guy Shy? Did Shy comment? Did he comment at all? Because I'm wondering. Okay, he didn't. All right, so he is going to be cast out to the shadow realm. And when you are free to comment again, I want my money. I want my money. And every Bears fan that comment, you have been told what to do. And if you don't do those things, I will cast you out as well. Idiot fools. All right, y'all, listen, that's going to be the show. That is going to be the show, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I appreciate y'all, man. I hope you got everything you wanted yesterday. I hope that you are, you don't let the Lions get you down. I hope that you understand that you mean something to somebody. And I hope the Lions start taking this serious, man, but unrelated. And I know this is not exactly the best segue, but if there's anybody, this is a tough time of year for a lot of people. And football aside, right? Just life. Life be life, and as they say, bills are always due. Somebody always needs something, right? You might be down a little bit from the weather, but if you have any problems, any type of thoughts, man, don't hesitate to call or text 988, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. It's unfortunate that it comes at this time of year. You know, a lot of jokes and stuff to be made about it, but there's no laughing matter, man. This has nothing to do with football at all. Football is like an escape. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but it is, for me, deeper than just the sport. But it ain't that serious, right? But somebody's going through something. Okay, so with that being said, man, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your family if they're still in town. Be safe for the new year, but I'll see y'all before that, all right? So with that being said, you know what time it is, man. Go Lions, and the season is almost over. We're about to be taken out back like old Yeller, bro, or Cujo. I'll see y'all next week, man. Have a good weekend. Oh, yeah. Thank you for rocking with Syndicate Sports Detroit. As we had this Lions therapy, man. Almost a 2-hour show. As a matter of fact, we going over 2 hours right now. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Ben Foster, who's late, but it's all right, man. We ain't good, but we still good. Bradley Mathias, Jerome, Cornelius, Leonardo DiCaprio, Cleophas Holmes will be in front of the media in a couple of weeks. I might get credentials so I can roll up on them. So we talked a lot about what the Lions need to do to get better. The first thing they need to do is address the elephant in the room, which is the man on the screen, man. Brad Holmes, it's time to get some stuff done. Dan Campbell didn't seem too happy. And the offseason begins. What went wrong for the Detroit Lions? It was not making any moves in the offseason to be better. Dan Campbell said that we needed to be better, and better we were not. Bears fans, if you listen to this after the stream ends, I need my money. It's been a tough year for me as a Detroit Lions fan, so I need my money. Plus, nobody is ever talking to y'all, and you got to chip in anyway, so I need my money. Somebody said the Bears are the Lions of 2023. Lions fans, we got to wait until Ben Johnson is eliminated. And eliminated they shall be, but you know what? I'm leaving for Cancun in about 9 days. Then I'm going to Cabo after that. Lions had a discount plan. As a matter of fact, they got a fan experience. It was heavily discounted. So I hopped on that. I'm going to be on a plane with Panay Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, Aiden Hutchinson, Dan Campbell, and the entire Lions team, man. We going to Cabo. Wife is going to roll with me, too. First thing I'm going to do when I get to Cabo is have a pina colada, man. I might have 2 of them joints. How's this, Lions fans? As you sit and you marinate on the off season, I want you to sit on this. The Houston Texans started 0-3. They're going to join 5 other teams that have made the playoffs after starting 0-3. And the Chicago Bears started 0-2 and have clinched the playoff berth. While your Detroit Lions are packing up their luggage for Cabo. Only thing I can hope for is some pass rusher, some offensive lineman, somebody is in Cabo in a hot tub, and Dan Campbell winds up talking to them, trying to get them to come to Detroit. That's right, Duncan. Got to have the sunscreen, man. But everybody have a great weekend. Be safe and enjoy the rest of your time off. Listen to the smooth sounds of Syndicate Sport Detroit. Lions Syndicate on the 1s and 2s, man. I'll see y'all next week. And for what it's worth, go Lions.